spotted deep within the forests of Canada and North America, a terrifying legend lurks. Known colloquially as Bigfoot, some believe this elusive giant is a surviving link to ancient hominids, while others claim it's a supernatural being. Are these simple myths, or is there more proof to this story? This is Damage Control, and this is Uncovering Bigfoot. Bigfoot, also known as Sasquatch, is a legendary creature rooted in various cultural traditions and mythologies across the world. The concept of a wild man, comparable to Bigfoot, appears predominantly in medieval European art and literature. These wild men, or woodwousers, symbolize the untamed aspects of nature and the thin boundary between civilization and the wilderness. They were often depicted as half-human, half-beast figures, embodying both human intelligence and animalistic traits. The idea of a wild man is ancient, with one of the earliest recorded examples being Enkidu from the Mesopotamian Epic of Gilgamesh. Medieval literature, such as the Norwegian King's Mirror, written around 1250, describes encounters with wild men. It once happened in that country, and this seems strange indeed, that a living creature was caught in the forest, as to which no one could say definitely whether it was a man or some other animal, for no one could get a word from it, or be sure that it understood human speech. It had the human shape, however, in every detail, both as to its hands and face and feet, but the entire body was covered in hair, as the breasts are, and down the back it had long coarse mane like that of a horse, which fell both sides and trailed along the ground when the creature stooped in walking. In North America, tribes have long shared stories of large hairy beings living in the remote wilderness, from the Stiyaha of the Salish people to the Tsukalu of the Cherokee. These tales depict a creature that is both human-like and beastly. The Salish people tell of the Stiyaha, or Sightko, giant hairy creatures known as stick Indians with the power to mesmerize and lead people astray. The Inuit of Alaska speak of the Tornit, large reclusive beings that once lived in the Arctic but disappeared due to conflicts with humans. The Lumi tribe refers to Bigfoot as Tusemekwes, a large hairy humanoid living in the forests and mountains, shrouded in mystery and reclusive by nature. In central United States, the Omaha tribe recounts stories of hairy, giant, forest-dwelling men. These beings are considered powerful and potentially dangerous if provoked. In Native American legends, such as those of the Paiutes Sitaika, circa 19th century, describes conflicts with giant beings, often depicting them as hostile and powerful adversaries. Although the historical depictions are described as literary and metaphorical symbols, are depictions of mankind fighting another closely related hominid species really that far-fetched? Humans have a history of being warmongering creatures, often engaging in conflicts with each other. We constantly strive to make our living spaces as comfortable and as safe as possible, sometimes at the expense of other beings. There is an imperfect link in our evolutionary record, leaving room for speculation about encounters with other hominid species. In 1938, a significant incident helped popularize the term Bigfoot. Jerry Crew, a bulldozer operator for the Granite Logging Company in Northern California, made an extraordinary discovery on August 27, 1958. Arriving at his worksite near Bluff Creek, Crew found a series of enormous footprints deeply pressed into the muddy ground. These 16-inch prints resembled human footprints, but were much larger and deeper. Initially puzzled and suspecting a prank, Crew took plaster casts of the footprints, which quickly attracted local media attention. The Humboldt Times journalist Andrew Genzoli reported on Crew's discovery, coining the term Bigfoot in the process. The story spread rapidly, capturing public imagination and sparking widespread interest in the possibility of a giant unknown creature roaming Northern California's forest. While not the first reported sighting of a large hairy creature in North America, Crew's incident played a crucial role in bringing Bigfoot into mainstream culture. The physical evidence of the plaster casts, combined with Crew's credible eyewitness accounts and sensational media coverage, helped cement Bigfoot as a national and eventually global phenomenon. However, with the media fame arrived the freeloaders and opportunists, leading to a surge of hoaxes. People seeking attention or profit began fabricating footprints and creating false sightings, muddying the waters of research. These hoaxes complicated the search for the truth, but also fueled skepticism and controversy. The scientific community is largely skeptical about Bigfoot's existence, citing a lack of concrete evidence despite numerous reportings and sightings. Enthusiasts present footprints, recordings, and somatic examples, but these often fall short under scientific scrutiny. Bigfoot footprints, significantly larger than human feet, lack arches and sometimes show varied toe positions and dermal ridges. While some prints suggest a heavy, differently proportioned being, they can still be fabricated. Handprints, twisted branches, scat, and hair samples, often identified as belonging to known animals, fail to offer conclusive evidence. DNA studies on purported Bigfoot samples mostly point to known animals. A controversial study suggesting a human hybrid origin is widely dismissed due to likely contamination. The lack of consistent reproducible DNA evidence weakens the case for Bigfoot. Scientists stress the need for verifiable evidence, such as bones or a body, which remains absent. The failure to find definitive physical evidence and the prevalence of hoaxes undermine Bigfoot research. But theoretically, could a forest-dwelling Bigfoot fit within our evolutionary model alongside humans? Bigfoot might be an early Homo species like Homo habilis or early Homo erectus that diverged from our current lineage a couple of million years ago in Asia, grew larger, and migrated from Siberia to North America via the Bering Strait. The current scientific understanding of human evolution, based on extensive fossil and genetic evidence, traces our lineage to early hominids like Sahelanthropus and Australopithecus, through Homo habilis and Homo erectus to Neanderthals and modern Homo sapiens. Modern humans share a common ancestor with chimpanzees and bonobos from around 6 to 7 million years ago. Key evolutionary adaptations include bipedalism, increased brain size, and complex language, with genetic studies revealing interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans. For Bigfoot to fit within this evolutionary model, it could be hypothesized as a surviving population of an ancient hominid such as Gigantopithecus, Homo erectus, or Neanderthals that adapted to North American environments. Another possibility is parallel evolution, where Bigfoot evolved similar traits to human beings independently. However, the lack of physical evidence such as fossils or confirmed biological samples, and the challenges of maintaining a viable population in remote areas make Bigfoot's existence highly controversial and unlikely within the current scientific framework. Questions arise. Why would a forest-dwelling Bigfoot develop bipedalism, an adaptation for open fields and plains? How could such a large creature find enough sustenance in the forests of northern Canada, especially given the energy needs of a developed brain? If Bigfoot has evaded humans for so long, it must be fairly intelligent. Which then leads us to the Patterson-Gimlin film. The 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film is considered by many to be the most compelling video evidence of Bigfoot. Roger Patterson, who had been dedicated to finding Bigfoot for nearly a decade, shot the film with Bob Gimlin. Critics argue that Patterson's obsession might indicate a potential hoax, while supporters believe it shows his dedication. The film shows a hairy bipedal figure, often referred to as Patty, walking away from the camera. The figure appears to have visible breasts, suggesting female. The film captures detailed muscular movement, such as leg muscles shaking naturally upon foot impact, and visible shoulder and back muscle movements, which many believe would be difficult to fake with a costume, especially with the technology available in 1967. After the filming, Patterson and Gimlin cast the subject's footprints in plaster, measured the stride length, and documented the process. Additional castings were made by independent parties. Most copies of the film are second generation, making the figure only about 1 millimeter tall on the physical film, yet the natural stride and movement are still evident. Analysis of the film's speed, initially debated, settled on 18 frames a second. This film rate aligns with the subject's limb movements and proportions, suggesting a standing height of around 6'5" and a walking height of 6 foot. Measurements of the subject's body dimensions, such as a shoulder span of 28 inches and thigh circumference of 36.5, are beyond typical physical ranges, further complicating the hoax theory. The visible muscle movements beneath the hair, consistent with real anatomy rather than padding, strengthen the argument against it being a costume. Costumes in 1967 lacked the sophistication to replicate such detail. Moreover, The seamless integration of muscle movements and the natural appearance of the figure's anatomy are unparalleled even in contemporary movie costumes. One of the film's strongest points is that it was created and publicized in 1967 by two cowboys with no special effects or costuming background, at a time when video manipulation techniques were rudimentary. This adds a layer of authenticity to what is seen in the Patterson-Gimlin film. Since then, various other recordings have surfaced in the Bigfoot community, each with varying degrees of plausibility. Through the decades of controversy, one type of evidence that has been abundant is first-hand accounts. These recorded experiences from loggers, hikers, nature photographers, and general outdoor enthusiasts range from descriptions of potential bear sightings to physical attacks by the phenomena. Some compelling accounts were invited and recorded by long-running podcast The Sasquatch Chronicles. Claire's story, featured in episode 515, feels authentic. She spotted a creature during a free weekend on a business trip in California.
I'd gone out to photograph sea otters in Monterey on the Saturday, and I was staying in a hotel that's just south of Carmel. If you drive south, there's lots of beaches and creeks and coves, bits and pieces. So I went there in the afternoon, probably about 3:30, 4:45, parked the car up. There is a trail that's quite an open trail. It's more like a path that goes down to a beach, and probably about half a mile to a mile from the parking area. It was great. There's a load of rocks on the far side, so I wandered up there, sat down, I got my camera bag with me, taking photos, and was really just waiting for the sort of sundown. And we have an expression, someone's walked over your grave. You really feel quite, your hair stands on end, you feel cold. And I looked over to the way I would need to go back, and there were, I thought first of all it was a huge cat, but it was much more big and bulky than a cat. And then there was more than one of them as they came round the promontory where you've got the cove shape. And I have never seen anything like it in my life. Very, very large, very hairy, moving on all fours. And there were several of these creatures, one behind the other. It obviously wasn't a cat because it was moving in a very strange manner. The large creature, the really large one, was ripping out seaweed and throwing it back towards the females. And they were chewing the roots where it had been pulled out of the water. Probably like the idiot I am, I just thought, well, no one's going to believe this, I'll take some photographs of it. So lifted the camera up to take photographs. Part of the lens kit dropped off, hit the rocks, went bouncing down where I was sat, and the large creature turned round. Every one of them snapped round and was staring toward me, at which point the male that was in the water basically was up to its, I'd say mid-chest in the water, came striding out of the water. I've never seen anything move like that in my life. The way it moved, almost as if it was gliding across the beach. One of the females, the larger one of the two females, came after it, and probably about 30 yards or so away from me. And it was like a couple having a domestic dispute. Then the body turned right back at me, and it just screamed. It was like no other sound I've ever heard. It was bellowing at me, and effectively it just threw down and slammed its fists into the sand. Basically, the last thing I remember, because I passed out, I was feeling incredibly sick. Was this thing, it was obviously male, it had an erection and it was urinating, and that is all I remember.
And Daryl's story is equally as compelling. He noticed the creature after being a target of thrown debris during a fishing trip with his cousin.
I don't know exactly how tall it was. If it was an inch, it was 8 to 9 foot tall. It was 3-4 foot wide. It was closer to 4 foot, no, without exaggerating. It reminded me of a piece of plywood. It was just so huge. Its eyes were big and black. I hated to look at its face, man. It was the ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life, honestly. But not just ugly, but scary. I mean, just scary. And there was nothing kind about this animal here. There was no kindness in it. I've heard other shows and other stories, and this was not a creature that wanted to have coffee with me or anything. It wanted to kill us, and I don't know why. I don't know what we did to make it mad. We was being quiet, flipping up towards the bank, bass fishing, and evidently it didn't like us being there. There was nothing human about this thing. The only human thing about it was the way it stood. It almost moved supernaturally. By no means do I think it was supernatural, but it was 40 yards away from us the first time it come out, when it charged us, and it was on us so fast you can't even explain how fast it moved. I can't explain to you how fast it was there. It was just incredible, but it was so graceful also for as big as it was. Its mouth was huge. I mean, huge. It wouldn't have a problem biting your arm off, and I mean that literally. And just broad and thick and as black as could be. It was almost like it absorbed the sunlight, if that makes any sense. I just froze again when it stepped back out, and I seen it again. I just froze. I was absolutely terrified, and I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I couldn't do nothing again. I was useless. And my cousin's hollering. I mean, he's trying to do the best he can, and he was like hollering at it. Get the hell out of here, son of a bitch, out. And he's telling me, blow its head off, shoot it. And that thought never even entered my mind, never once raised either gun.
As the stories from Claire and Daryl show, we've only skimmed the surface of the Bigfoot mystery. Beyond the footprints, eerie calls, and fleeting sightings lies a deeper, stranger layer. Reports of strange lights in the forest, holographic figures, and even alleged encounters involving extraterrestrials hint at a connection that stretches far beyond just a creature lurking in the woods. Could Bigfoot be tied to something more profound, something that challenges our understanding of reality? The mystery of Bigfoot doesn't dwell in the shadows or the trees, it intertwines with our curiosity about the unexplained. Whether Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature, a remnant of our evolutionary past, or something far more enigmatic, it continues to provoke questions that defy easy answers. Thanks for watching Damage Control. Please like and share the videos to help us work towards our mission. Remember, the truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered. Stay curious, and together we'll keep exploring the unknown.